Nowadays, everyone has an opinion about Gen Z and work. We're lazy, we're entitled, we don't want to show up, and we can't even handle pressure like somebody asking us for some ketchup packets. We job hop every 6 months and then we cry when somebody gives feedback. You heard it, I heard it, it's everywhere. Everyone says it. There's LinkedIn posts from like 50-year-old managers, news segments, your uncle at Thanksgiving. You get the point. And look, and it seems like every one of those people have the same consensus. They think that working for a company for 30 years makes them an expert on the economy and all these sort of stuff. Like, oh, it worked for me, so it's going to work for everyone. And look, they're not wrong entirely because, yeah, people are still doing that. But something is happening. And Gen Z is leaving corporate jobs at a rate that is really alarming. But the reason for why, it's completely wrong. Like nobody understands as to why. They always make like just an assumption that it's we're lazy or just some bull like that. The real reason that Gen Z is walking away from corporate America is way more calculated than anything that these people will say. And at the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about and what's going on. And more importantly, what the people who actually figured it out in our generation are doing instead. Because, newsflash, the same old way that you would make money in the past doesn't work anymore. So, let's start with the lazy narrative because this is genuinely one thing that people just keep saying. And I had a video the last time that people were saying the exact same thing. Oh, uh, Gen Z doesn't want to work anymore, blah, 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 blah. Like, they're lazy and they're too entitled, blah, blah, blah. And Gen Z works. Believe it or not, we work like a lot. And the studies actually show that Gen Z is more likely than any other generation to have multiple income streams. You know why? Because we're freelancing, we're creating content, we're launching things on the side, we're learning skills that employers and all these other people never taught us. We didn't learn any of this stuff in school, and we're not lazy. We just stopped doing one specific thing that everyone does. And look, the lazy Gen Z story exists just because older generations built their entire identity around their job. Like literally, their job was the job was literally their thing. You're loyal to the company took care of you, and that was the social contract for about 40 years. So when they see us clock out at, you know, 5 o'clock on the dot, they don't see someone with healthy boundaries. They see someone who just doesn't care. They're too lazy. You get the idea. But here's the thing that they're missing. The contract, the one that they got, the one where loyalty gets rewarded with stability and raises with a pension and a future, that stuff doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't. And we're the first generation ever that actually grew up knowing that from day one. We know. We already know this. We watched our parents get laid off after many years of loyalty. We watched 2008 wipe people out completely. We graduated straight into COVID. We got handed the student loan debt. We didn't become skeptical of corporate for no reason. We literally have pretty much receipts as to why. Let me show you exactly when the math of all of this stopped working because there's a giant problem here. It used to be go to college, get a degree, get a stable job, yada, 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 work your way up, get a house. So let's run the numbers on that now because apparently to a lot of older generations, yeah, that's the playbook even today. So the average cost of a 4-year degree right now, take a guess. It's $100,000 at a public university. And whoop, my controller died. And at a private, it's double or more. And on top of that, you're taking on loans, interest, everything before you literally even earn a single dollar in your career. So that sounds fun, right? Now, let's go to the starting salary for a job for a college graduate. Well, $55,000 a year, which sounds good, right? That doesn't sound too bad until you actually realize that that buys you less than 55,000 bought you in 2005 because inflation has been quietly eating our wages for 2 decades while nobody at the top adjusted the entry level numbers to match. So the average home price in America right now, that's the other thing, $420,000. So that's pretty much, after all this, that translates to 2,800 alone in mortgage payments, and on the 55,000 salary you're taking home, maybe 3,500, right? So with us seeing that, that's pretty much 80% of your income on a mortgage, which before groceries, before your car, before any type of insurance, and before anything, pretty much. And that's the national average in an actual city. So Miami, New York, LA, Austin, Chicago, you can throw that out completely because you're going to be paying probably double that. So the deal was follow the steps, work hard, and you'll end up stable, comfortable. You'll have a happy life, yada, yada, yada. Yay, hooray. So we pretty much looked at that and said, dude, this makes no sense at this point. Not everyone is on it for the money, too, though. There's different factors. Because if the pay was bad, but everything was solid, good management, real security, actual respect, some people would still take the deal. The money alone wouldn't be enough to push an entire generation out the door. You know that. So you and I both know that. The problem is that corporate pulled a series of moves pretty much over the last 30 years that made the non financial side of things worse too. So, number one, they pretty much killed job loyalty and they're still demanding loyalty. Like you basically can't have a life outside of it. Not because the company is failing, but to trim costs, cutting the headcount. You get the idea. Big tech had record profits pretty much in 2022, and they still laid off over 200,000 people in 2023. Now, I want you to think of that. You go, you complete the task like they said, go to college, blah, 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 and then you get laid off from the job you were supposed to be loyal to. And this is still ongoing. The expectation from employees, oh, you still have to be loyal, still go above and beyond, still sacrifice your life and sanity. If you want loyalty from this generation, I have to tell you, you're going to really have to fight hard to earn it because we've already seen so many people get backstabbed from generations beyond us. And now the second reason is they pretty much turned passion into a mechanism to underpay you. At some point, corporate pretty much figured out if you could convince employees to be emotionally invested in the mission, to feel like the work was their calling, their purpose, something bigger than just a paycheck, then maybe you could pay them less and still get maximum effort from them. That's why so many jobs in the fields that people actually care about, media, marketing, education, creative jobs, they pay so poorly because the supply of passionate people that are willing to absorb bad pay in exchange for something meaningful is high. So the price gets pushed down for that reason. And look, Gen Z pretty much saw this. We saw this coming from a mile away. The other thing is remote work was pretty much also used as a little bait and switch because during COVID, companies pretty much discovered that people working from home were just as productive. So the workers pretty much built their entire lives around that reality. People moved cities and then one by one those same companies started calling people back. They they started calling people to get back to work and look, Gen Z watched that all unfold real time. And they had the flexibility, and the second you remove that and make your employee just, oh yeah, now you got to go back. It's like a massive FU, you know? I want to change the video's direction because I don't just want this to be a rant. I don't want to seem like, you know, like doomer about this whole sort of stuff. Here's what I think that Gen Z figured out that the previous generation didn't. We figured out pretty much that the internet broke the gatekeepers. Most of human history, if you ever wanted to build something, if you ever wanted to build real income outside of working for someone, you needed access to capital, access to people, access to a physical location. You get the idea. And those things required either being born into money or spending years climbing inside of someone else's unit until it finally worked for you. And that's gone now, or at least it's completely optional. So now a 19-year-old with a phone can build an audience of, a couple 100,000 people. A 22-year-old could launch a service business and land a client with zero startup capital and start making money straight off the bat. The infrastructure to build income outside of traditional employment isn't just available anymore. It's more accessible than it's ever been in human history. And most of it is free. Like if you want to post on Instagram, all that sort of stuff, it's all free. You can do it. And here's the thing. Gen Z, more than anyone, any other generation before us, knows how to use it because we grew up on social media. We know how it works. We know how commenting, all this sort of stuff, sharing, we know what will engage people. And just by growing up with that, we develop skills over time to where we can eventually build our own audiences and all this sort of stuff. Watching people literally make audiences. When you combine a corporate deal that's objectively broken with a vast, open alternative that's more accessible than ever, the question stops being, how do I succeed in this system? And becomes, why am I even doing this at all? Because if you can become just as successful, if not more, than people with these quote unquote real jobs, why wouldn't you? What does the actual alternative look like in practice? Because I want to be real here, and it's not like a quit your job tomorrow sort of thing. All this stuff, of course, takes time. The real version is a bit less exciting than what most people would preach, like, oh, you can quit your job tomorrow and you'll get 1 million views, blah, blah, blah. But the thing I actually see people winning with right now share three things in common. So, first, they started building something on the side. They didn't wait until they hated their job to actually build something. They did it way before all of that. Second, they pick something connected to what they're already good at. And the biggest mistake that people do is they pick something random, something completely niche, like something they saw in a YouTube video, uh, Amazon FBA, for example, or all these sort of things. And then they end up not understanding the business model whatsoever, and they just fail, which is obvious. Yeah, you're going to fail if you don't know what the hell, you don't have any skill in relation to it. So the smarter move in all of this is just to figure out what you already know, what you're good at, if you can even understand a specific industry, and then consult or create content in it. And if you're organized, you can offer help to, small business owners and that sort of stuff. Pretty much your existing knowledge is a shortcut that most people ignore because it doesn't feel special enough to the person who needs it. And lastly, they stop trying to figure it out completely by themselves. This is probably literally the most underrated one. The people who successfully actually built an income through all of this sort of stuff, they always credit some sort of community, a group chat, pretty much a mentor, all that sort of stuff. One conversation with someone who's already done what you are trying to do can save you so much time of just trial and error and all this sort of stuff. And look, that's the actual playbook. That's the playbook that I literally followed. And I would argue I'm doing well for myself. That's a topic for another video, but you get the idea. So, with that being said, I want to pretty much end off the video here. If you're watching this and you're in that place where you know you want to build something outside of a regular job, but you don't know where to start or what to even do first, I have a Discord community pretty much that can help you with all of that. It's completely free. I'm not charging anything. And it's just for Gen Z entrepreneurs and people who are trying to build a side income to gather in one place, share our knowledge, maybe even work with each other. You get the idea. So I want you guys to just come on in, introduce yourselves, tell people what you're working on, and dude, I want to give as much, help as I can, as much value as I can to the community. I'm actively working on resources to share with the community and everything. I literally talk to every and each person in there. It's not going to be like no weird sort of thing where you're not getting responded. So, to summarize the video, pretty much, just pick one thing, work at it seriously, and you got to give it some time, but work on it seriously. Work on it seriously for, 6 months to a year. I'm talking about like you actually have to be dedicated to this sort of stuff. And once you finally do that, see if you got result. If you didn't, switch on to the next business model. That's the idea. And eventually, something will work out. If this video helped you guys in any way, drop a comment. And look, I read every single one of them, and I want to know how many people pretty much are at that point of just feeling pretty much the way that we talked about in this video. I want to see your guys' perspectives, your guys' input. Even if you disagree with me, I want to see why. Like I was saying before, the free Discord is in the description. There's no pitch. It's literally just people building. And yeah, come on through, guys. I want to build. I want to build with you guys and actually see you guys grow. So, with that being said, my friends, I hope this video was helpful and have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.